The reason I'm sat here looking all sweaty straight out of the gym is because the video that you're about to watch is a video that I made a couple of days ago that was getting edited about how people should react to the stock market crash that we've seen this year, whatever you want to call it, the correction. As I'm about to press publish, Trump pauses the tariffs, which sort of proves the point of the video that you're about to watch. But I have to clarify that point because if I just post it as it is, people are going to be like, he's paused it, problem over. Anyway, you're about to watch a video of how I think you should react when the stock market has a meltdown. I'll go into some data, look at historical crashes, and look at this time specifically in a bit of detail as well. And we're going to start by looking at how often these types of crashes happen. So to start with, there are three broadly accepted labels in terms of the size of declines that you might see in the stock market. You've got 5% declines. These are called pullbacks. Since 1980, the S&P 500, America's top 500 companies, often held up as the best investment you can make, has experienced a drop of 5% in more than 93% of calendar years. So only 4 years didn't have one. The next stage is a 10% decline, and this is called a correction. The current drop in the market that we're in as I'm recording this is around 13% from all-time highs. That is a correction. The world feels like it's ending financially right now, but a drop of 10% or more has happened in 47% of years since 1980. This chart here plots the returns for each year in green. The chart also shows the biggest rally in that year and the biggest fall of the year. Notice how many years with positive overall returns experienced significant declines in those years. Just last year, the S&P 500 had a period where it fell by 8.45%, but we ended up with an overall gain of 25% for the year. People soon forget this and they move on. But you might be sat there going, hold on, Damien, Trump's tariffs feel special. Their magnitude and importance feels like nothing we've ever seen before. Well, check this list out. It's compiled by Yardeni Research, and it's a list of so-called stock market panic attacks that the US stock market has faced since 2009. We've got the Ukraine crisis, COVID, Evergrande, remember that? Brexit, I know you remember that. Well, we've also got Grexit, Ebola, the Eurozone debt crisis, another Eurozone debt crisis, and another one. The Crimea invasion and the ISIS invasion of Iraq. We could go on and on and on. I've counted 74 panic attacks since the beginning of the bull market in 2009, and they all turned out to be buying opportunities. Declines in the stock market as a result of the news of the day are beyond common. The majority of these potential shocks, really, they amount to nothing. These huge events that grip the attention of the world, that happen on average one every 2 months, they feel so important at the time and the market just shakes them off. But every so often we get a biggie. A 20% decline, the feared bear market. Between 1929 and the last one in 2022, there have been 22 bear markets of varying severity. That means we've averaged a bear market once every 4.3 years. And the average decline of that bear market is 36.8%. The 1930s really dragging up the average here. When we look at this table, we can see that bear markets, these significant declines, are a regular occurrence throughout the stock market's history. But look how they pale in significance to the size and scale of the bull runs marked in blue. Pullbacks, corrections, and even full-scale crashes are common. We need to internalise this idea that significant declines are part of the market process. What's also crucial to understand is that every single one of these significant declines is attached to a moment in history that typically feels completely unique. The reason the market declines so aggressively is because it didn't see it coming. It's literally, oh crap, well, this changes everything, so I'm selling. Just try and think back to COVID for a second and ask yourself, did being told I couldn't leave my home feel as significant to me back then as Trump announcing tariffs the other day? Did the collapsing of the financial system in 2008 feel like the end of the line? If Trump's tariffs cause a bear market, I don't know. Might already be in one by the time this comes out. Might have made a full recovery, who knows? What I do know is, between now and the next 30 years when I potentially retire, that I'm likely to experience 7 of them, one every 4.3 years. And each one of them will feel completely different in terms of what's caused it. So, I can't prepare for that. I can't prepare for the unknown, but what I can prepare for is the experience of moving through those bear markets. If you want to sell investing to someone, you show them this chart. This is the performance of the S&P 500 over the last 100 years. To a new investor, this looks like exponential growth, like a near straight line up apart from a couple of hiccups along the way. But then consider that along this line is every bear market ever, including the one in the 30s that was an 83% decline. You can't even see it, can you? As a new investor looking at this chart, do you get the impression that between here and here, the market experienced 10 declines of over 20% and hundreds of declines in the 5 and 10% range? Do you feel that this chart prepares you for that reality? The issue with this chart is the scale on the side here. It goes up in a linear fashion, in stages of 500. To show you why this is an issue, if we replace this scale from 1 to 10, And instead of the stock market, we say we're tracking someone selling shoes. In year 1, they sell 1 pair of shoes. In year 2, 2 pairs. In year 3, 3 pairs, and so on, producing this lovely straight line up that makes this business look like it's growing nicely. But that is not the case. Between year 1 and year 2, they doubled in size. But between years 9 and 10, they've not doubled at all, have they? The growth has stalled significantly. That's why this linear scale does not represent a fair picture of the market and what you should expect at all. For example, if you started investing in February 1955, you would have waited until August 1963 to double your money. If you invested at the peak of the financial crisis here, you would have then had to have waited until 2019 to double your money. These two outcomes are the exact same in terms of gains to your wealth. Both produce 100% return. One looks like a meteoric rise, the other barely registers on the chart. Here is a better view because the scale now goes up in factors of 10, and we can see a far more accurate depiction of the ride that is the US stock market over the last 100 years. The size of the 30s decline is very evident now. This is COVID, and here is the dot-com and '08 bear markets. This is the reality of being invested in the US market over the last 100 years. An upwards trend, yes, but it's been permeated with these constant declines all over it. But notice how declines are also put into context by the log scale. On the previous chart, this is the current drop, and this is what media outlets are showing you all of the time, and it looks really bad. On the adjusted scale, that presents growth more accurately, this is what it looks like. Doesn't look that bad, does it? I hope I've shown you that declines in the market are normal, that we encounter 5% declines basically every year, 10% ones 1 in 2 years, and a 20% plus decline, a bear market 1 in every 4 years. I now want to talk about what you should do when you see these when they arise. Of course, again, just to echo how I started this is very much up to you. I'm not a financial advisor, this is your decision. But broad strokes, let's say you're near retirement now, or you're in retirement, you're 5 years away or you're in it. The commonly accepted wisdom is that you look to de-risk from the market. What that means is you might build up a portfolio of assets out away from the stock market that you can lean on, so when the market drops, you're not kicking your portfolio when it's down. For me, that might look like 3 years worth of cash savings that I can live off while the market recovers. Now, what happens though if you've got more than 10 years worth of investing in front of you? What do you do then? Should we stop investing and take our money out of the market and wait, like a lot of the messages I've been receiving have asked me? Since 1994, an independent research group known as Dalba Incorporated have published an annual report. The Dalba Report. It looks to measure the impacts of the choices that we make when it comes to investing and how that impacts the returns that we get from the market. I think the title of the latest study kind of sums it up nicely. Investors are still their own worst enemies. Every year, it's the exact same story. Between 1994 and 2023, the S&P 500 averaged a rate of return of 10.15%. But the average investor buying the S&P 500, they got 8%. So if you invested 100k at the start of that period, you would have ended up with £800,000 less. Pick any individual year and it's the same story. In 2018, the market went down by 4.38%. But the average investor lost 9.42%. It's not just the bad years either. In 2024, the average investor earned 16.54%, in a year that the S&P 500 knocked up an insane 25.05% return. Good or bad years, investors consistently fail to capture the average return of the market. Why? They are impatient and often jump in and out of markets, diminishing their returns. They sell when things are going bad, they sell when things are going good. In and out of the market, trying to time things, and that tends to be a terrible approach when it comes to capturing the long-term return of markets going up over time. I know it can feel counterintuitive. Markets are falling, so I'll just sell and I'll wait. But wait until when? Vanguard did analysis of the best and worst days to be in the stock market. They found that almost half of the worst trading days, the biggest declines, occurred in years with positive returns. So you step out of the market due to a big decline. You then miss a year of positive returns in half of cases. Timing the market twice correctly is so hard to do. When do you sell? When do you buy back in? You might get the first part right, but Vanguard did some research on this as well. They looked at the chances of an individual outperforming someone who stays in the market versus someone who switches everything to cash. They found that if you switch for about 3 months, your chances of underperforming are 61%. At 6 months, it's 72%, and at 12 months, it's 79%. It's so hard to get this in and out of the market thing right. It's just not enough to say, well, prices are dropping, so I'll wait. In 1936, John Maynard Keynes put forward a simple yet compelling description of stock markets. He called them a beauty contest. And he made the observation that if you want to correctly guess who will win a beauty contest, you don't pick who you think is the most beautiful. You pick who other people might think is the most beautiful. You don't judge the contestants, you judge the other judges. What's so poetic about this today is that Donald Trump once owned Miss America, the beauty pageant, and now he's Mr. America. And if you want to navigate around this beauty contest, You need to not only guess what he will do, but what every other market participant will do in response to him, and then know what the stock market will do in response to all of that. Is Trump using tariffs as a bargaining chip to get countries to make deals? Is he doing it to collapse the market so him and his boys can profit when he gets rid of the tariffs? How will other countries react to this? Maybe it'll work, or maybe he'll feel too much pressure and reverse it. He could become so unpopular that he simply doesn't last and the American people switch direction politically. And any new leader could come in and go, yeah, well, scrap all of that. Or has he rewritten the rules of global trade permanently? I have no idea. And so many people see this panning out in so many different ways. There's so many judges and beauties in the eye of the beholder, if you will. But what we do know is Trump won't be here forever. And at some point in time, this will be ancient history. You feel compelled to act right now because it's so fresh, it's everywhere, and it feels so important. But please consider that staying as you are, doing what you do every month, consistently investing into the market is a decision, that is a reaction. Using this calculator from Dollars and Data, let's take a look at what I would call one of the worst times to be an investor ever. The period between August 1929, the peak right before the Great Depression, and when America entered World War II. This just so happens to capture a period as well when America introduced sweeping tariffs, so it's relevant. You can see that the downwards trend is the most severe on the whole timeline of our log scale. Let's say you invested $500 a month consistently throughout this period. You would have invested $74,500 in total and ended up with $82,283. And if we adjust for the impacts of inflation, you would have had $74,908. You've just invested through the worst period in the history of the markets and come out unscathed. Yes, you didn't make any money, you're not sat there rich at the end of it, and you probably could have made more money putting it in other areas, but you've just bought through that market, come out untouched at the other side basically, and more importantly, you've just amassed a load of units of companies in the market, and you're set to experience this period of growth right here. As you sit here today, you still own the exact same bits of companies that you owned a few weeks ago, but prices have now declined. So that gives you an opportunity to buy even more bits of those same companies through the purchase of an index or whatever investment vehicle you use for cheaper. I buy through a global index because I want global exposure beyond just the American market. If you want to know how I do this and why, I've left a link below to a completely free course that goes into detail about everything for you. No upsells, no paywalls, it's yours for free and it's linked below. But in summary to this whole mess that we find ourselves in right now, politics is short term, the markets are not. Trying to time the market, the odds are not on your side. Consistently investing through downturns, history has your back. Warren Buffett is in the press again recently because he's been stockpiling cash the last few years. Selling his investments, he now holds $334 billion in cash, and everyone is calling him a genius. People are emailing me going, if Warren's in cash, shouldn't I be? No, you should have been in cash already before the drop, like him. You don't mimic the man by copying what he did before the event after the decline has happened. Don't look at the actions of the best investor ever and try to copy him. Instead, listen to his words of wisdom for normal investors in times like this when he's describing buying an index fund.
Keep buying it through thick and thin, and especially through thin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Thin.